What if your relationships aren't really driven by who you meet, but by what you carry? What if beneath every pattern, every repeated cycle, every connection that ends in pain, there are emotions running so deep you can barely see them? Not the emotions you talk about over coffee with a girlfriend, not the surface frustration or the obvious sadness, but something much older, much quieter, something that has been shaping your choices in love for most of your life. In my work, I talk a lot about emotional frequency. And what I mean by that is this: emotions are not just passing states of mind, they are stored experiences. They carry an energetic charge. And when an emotion has never been fully processed, never been given space to move through, it doesn't disappear. It stays held in the body, embedded in the nervous system, influencing who you're drawn to, how you behave in relationships, and what you unconsciously believe you deserve. In the context of love addiction and trauma bonding, there are 4 emotional imprints I see again and again: shame, guilt, fear, and grief. Let's look at each one. Now, shame is the deepest of them all. Shame is not about what you did. Shame is about who you believe you are. It's the quiet, pervasive belief that something about you is fundamentally not enough, not lovable enough, not worthy enough, not good enough to be chosen and kept. Shame is often formed very early through experiences of rejection, criticism, neglect, or moments where the people who were supposed to love you unconditionally made it conditional. And shame drives love addiction in a very direct way. If you believe at your core that you're not quite enough, you will seek relationships that confirm that belief. Or you will work exhaustively to try to prove it wrong through overgiving, people pleasing, staying too long, and just compromising yourself. Then there is guilt. Guilt in this context is often a carryover, sometimes from experiences that were never yours to carry. Children who grow up in homes with emotional instability often absorb guilt from the emotional states of their caregivers. They internalize, if I were better, things would be different. Carried into adulthood, this guilt becomes the belief: I have to work harder, I have to be more, I have to earn love. And so you do. You contort yourself. You abandon your own needs. You try desperately to become whatever the other person needs you to be, not from love, from guilt. Fear is the emotion that keeps you small. Fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, fear of being truly seen and found wanting. Now, this fear is often rooted in early experiences where connection was inconsistent, where love felt like something that could disappear without warning. So in adulthood, fear drives a very specific kind of behavior. Staying in relationships that don't serve you because leaving feels more terrifying than staying. Shrinking yourself to keep someone comfortable. Accepting behavior you know isn't right because the alternative is being alone, being without connection. Now that feels completely unbearable. And finally, grief. This is the most important and most often skipped. Grief in this context is the grief of what you didn't receive, the love that should have been there and wasn't, the consistency you needed but couldn't find, the safety that should have been your birthright. And also for many people, this is the grief of what happened to you that should never have happened. This unprocessed grief sits at the very bottom of the pattern, and it keeps generating loss, because until it's fully felt and released, the system will keep recreating situations that mirror that original core wound. Now here's the crucial piece. You don't just think these emotional patterns, you feel them in your body. And more than that, you emit them like a frequency, like a signal. And that signal draws in people who match it, who can meet you at that level of pain. And this is not about being broken, it's about the way energy works. And once you begin to shift your frequency, your core frequency, once you begin to process and release these stored emotional imprints, what you attract begins to change naturally. So in the next episode, we're going to look at something most people aren't willing to be honest about: the fantasy trap. Why we ignore what's right in front of us, and why we fall in love with potential instead of reality. So, see you in the next video.